Hello out there, and today's video is going to be a top 5 countdown of my 5 favorite budget EDC knives. And the format's going to be pretty fun, and we're going to roll all 5 of these knives out in front of the camera at once, and then I'm going to compare and contrast them and eliminate one at a time until I get to the number 1 knife that is a budget knife. And I'm really excited to do this, and I'm really looking forward to how this format works out and what you all think of it. So any feedback that you have, any improvements or what you like about the video or don't like, definitely let me know down below, because your comments really drive the way the channel goes into the future. And I really appreciate that about you guys. You know, this idea was actually formulated based off of the suggestion of a viewer, Jacob, who has been, you know, commenting and chatting with me about knives since the beginning. And, you know, he said, why not have a video where we just have the knives go head to head? And I thought, wow, that's a great idea. Let's do that. You know, it'll make a top 5 video a little more interesting too. You know, and of course, this is all going to be based on personal preference, but, you know, sort of give you more background as to how my mind works when it comes to knives. So, yeah, let's see how it goes, and hopefully we'll have some fun content for all of us. All right, so what we're going to do is, you know, roll those 5 knives in. And the way that I got to those 5 knives is I had to basically make the rules of, 1, it has to be in my collection at this point, obviously, because I can't really talk about a knife on camera that I don't own. And 2, the budget ceiling was $30. I figured anything in the $20 range would be an appropriate budget knife, and anything over the $20 range is just too much, you know, when we're talking about what my favorite would be. So unfortunately, any Spyderco fans out there are no Spyderco knives in this video for that reason. So yep, if you're tuning out right now, understood. Thank you for watching up to this point, but yeah, you will not see any Spydercos. All right, so what we have in front of us right now, though, are the 3 knives that got eliminated before the final 5. So these are the last 3 to be considered and get left off. All right, so I'm just going to talk briefly about those to let you know what I like about those, and then we'll bring in the final 5. All right, starting with this Opinel. All right, this one is just a really neat design, good knife. Just Opinels in general are good EDC knives that are very, very budget friendly and lightweight. This is a number 7, and you have a ton of different numbers that signify the different sizes of the knives. All right, one thing I really like about the knife is that this ring lock right here is completely functional. I mean, this locks up with no up and down or side to side play, but because it is so light and because of the way that the knife is constructed, this isn't something that I would consider to be a full EDC knife. I couldn't really carry this as my main blade. 1, it doesn't have a pocket clip, and 2, it just doesn't seem built for the strong kind of tasks that would make me feel comfortable having it be my dedicated blade for the day. So for that reason, this one did not make the final 5. All right, the next 2, the Picot, the Kershaw Picot, designed by Les George. This one was left off because the Kershaw Westin, also designed by Les George, was not left off. So that one is in the top 5, and I didn't really see the need to have 2 Les George designs from Kershaw from the same year in this countdown. They're both really good knives, but I had to go with one of the 2, and I definitely chose the Westin, so the Picot, unfortunately, gets left out. And then the last one, you know, and it's really hard to say that this isn't going to be on the list, because the CRKT Squid is a favorite of mine. You know, but there's only room for 5, and so something has to get left out. And this one, though, it's definitely number 6. It is not going to make that cut. It's a great knife. I've loved this knife for a long time. $15 range, you know, 12 to 15 bucks for this knife brand new is just a steal. Everybody should have one. You know, if you need a knife in the $15 range, go with this one. This is a good choice. But ultimately, I went with the CRKT Pilar, which is a similar small knife, similar size, and I definitely prefer that one. So I went with that for the countdown. But again, the Squid, always a really good choice. So now we're at the point where we can bring in the final 5. So let's do that. This is in just no order, no particular order, just bringing in the 5 that I have, and then we're going to go over them bit by bit and then start making eliminations. All right, so what we have starting from the top, and it's going to be a tight squeeze until I do make those eliminations, but all the way at the top here, we have the Kershaw Westin. All right, 8CR13 MOV on this one. We have a faux G10. And also, this one, surprisingly enough, at a budget price, is running on bronze washers. And so that really explains why it kicks open so nicely and the action is really smooth, much more smooth than a lot of the other Chinese-produced budget Kershaws. All right, next we have the Ganzo F7562. This one just impressive on a number of levels. 440C blade steel, G10 handle scales here, some anodized parts. Just really like the usage of that knife. The next two are both modified. Unfortunately, I don't have just the regular stock versions of either of these knives right now, but this is the CRKT Pilar, as I mentioned before. Stainless steel frame lock, ACR 13 MOV. Really like this one. Just a small little tank. Can get a lot of work done. Just a neat knife. Feels pretty good in the hand too, despite the fact that it is stainless steel and it is a smaller knife. All right, and then we've got the Ontario Rat 2. This is running on AUS 8 steel. Really, really smooth knife. One of the smoothest Teflon washer knives that I've ever had in my life. This one, obviously, you can see is modified as well. The scales on this used to be pink, but now you can tell that they are not. But open frame construction on this, just really smooth action, good flat ground blade. Really, really love this design. And this one is in the $20, $25 range as well. And so is the Pilar. The Thistle might be the budget steal of this entire group. Kershaw Thistle, 8CR 13 MOV, on sale on Blade HQ right now for $11.99, which is absolutely ridiculous. All right, absolutely ridiculous. $11.99 for this knife is ridiculous. I don't know what else to say about it. Extremely good, fully functional EDC. You could do a whole lot worse than buying 5 of these for $60 and then just never having to worry about a knife for the rest of your life. That's how I feel about it. And then honestly, guys, all 5 of these knives, if you had $100 laying around to start a collection with, you could get all 5 of these knives for about $100 total and have a really nice, fully functional small collection started. So at this point, we do have to start making eliminations, but I want to make sure that it is perfectly clear that all 5 of these knives are great. And I'm going to have to get really nitpicky and make some hard choices here in order to go down to the final knife, which I'm going to call the last knife slicing. All right, in order to get to that last knife slicing, I'm going to have to be, really choosy and particular because, again, any one of these 5, if it's in my pocket, I'm having a good day. All right, so let's just start with something that is really clear and easy and is a big preference of mine, and that's steel. All right, we have 5 knives on the table, 3 different steels. 8CR 13 MOV on the Westin, the Pilar, and the Thistle. We've got 440C, which I think is probably the best steel out of the bunch here. And then AUS 8 right here for the Ontario Rat Model 2. Now, let's pull the Rat 2 up again. Not sure how many of you are aware of this, but I do not like AUS 8 or AUS 8. However you want to say it, I do not care for it. I never have. What I really like about the Rat Model 1 is that it's starting to come out in D2 tool steel. And if you are looking for a larger knife than this at a good budget price, the Rat 1 in D2 is probably the best deal on D2 that you can find out there. It's fantastic. And hopefully this knife will eventually, the Rat 2 will eventually get the D2 treatment because if it does, I will get one in a heartbeat because I do not like AUS 8. Just never have. I've had a lot of chipping problems with it on cold steels. I've had just some sharpening issues and just like quality of the edge and just the steel itself, especially the CRKT ones that I've had, just never really liked. The flat grind on these Ontario models has always been pretty good. Never had too many big complaints, but when it comes to steel and trusting it, I just don't trust the AUS 8 the way that I can rely on these other steels. So for that reason, the Ontario Rat 2, as good as it is being eliminated, and it will not be the last knife slicing. So that brings us down to 4. All right, and when you get down to 4, I don't know, it's just a matter of, it's such a matter of preference at this point, because I really like all these knives. All right, but I'm thinking about the quality of materials and things that are just really good about these knives here. When I'm thinking about the steel, which we just talked about, but then also handle material for me is, and ergonomics is probably one of the biggest things that I look for in a knife, right? So here we've got the faux G10, which feels really good in the hand, ergonomically, extremely solid, a lot of points of contact for your thumb here, so it feels good. Your fingers have points of contact. The jimping is a little bit, but it's functional, and then you've got a good ramp, so I really like the way the Westin feels in the hand. Same thing with the Ganzo here. Feels great in the hand. The G10 is a favorite of mine. So that leaves us with these two right here, the Pilar and the Thistle. Now the Thistle is actually ergonomic. I mean, it feels good. The K texture is this like plasticky texture, but it's still fully functional. And I don't have a huge problem with it. But the Pilar is stainless steel. And while I'm starting to warm up to stainless steel frame locks, they are just a little bit slick. And I like the fact, the one that we did, Warpath 101 and I did, when we modified it, we put that jimping on it. He did it actually, and it made the knife way more grippy and felt even better in the hand. And my hands sweat, and so, I want something a little bit more grippy. So the Pilar is going to lose a few points there. All right, and then, so when it comes down to it, and I'm thinking about which knife I would want to have in my pocket for long-term use, I think the Pilar is going to be left out here. And then when you really consider, we're looking at these four knives, when you really consider, it's either the Pilar or the Thistle that's about to be eliminated. The Thistle is half the price of the Pilar. I've got to go with the Thistle and let this one stick. So the Pilar is unfortunately the next one eliminated and will not be the last knife slicing. All right, so that leaves us with three knives to go. Very simple decisions here too. I mean, complicated in terms of it's not an easy choice to make, but when I'm looking at these knives on the table, I can really see what I think are the opportunities for them and what my preference is for the three that are left. All right, and looking at them, the one thing that really stands out is that we have two Kershaws and one Ganzo. So the Ganzo is going to make the final two. We have to eliminate a Kershaw. All right, these two knives both have the same steel. They're similar overall size. The shape is very different, but, the same qualities as far as stone washing. So which one of these two knives is better? All right, for me, the extra improved action on the Westin here is worth the extra money. The Thistle gets a lot of points for just being half the price of the Westin. Westin's going to run you $25. Thistle, like I said, $12 right now on Blade HQ. But the Westin, just the quality of this build always impresses me. It always impresses me with the lockup. I prefer liner locks, generally speaking, to frame locks. But this knife just always, just the crisp opening and the good lockup, centering, functionality. This one is just on a different level. And if I were just to get this knife in my hand for the first time, not knowing how much it cost, I would think this was a $40 to $45 knife. Same thing with this, to be honest with you. $40 to $45 knife on the Ganzo. It's just that good in terms of quality. The Thistle, I really wouldn't have that feeling. I think it was a budget knife, a very good budget knife, but it doesn't blow me away in terms of, wow, this could really compete with something higher up the line. Not so much, but it still is an extremely good value. And again, I want to come down to the point one more time and say that I'm being extremely nitpicky here because I love all three of the knives on the table. But I think the next one that gets eliminated has to be the Thistle. We've just got better materials in this Westin with the bronze. The faux G10 just feels better in the hand. Ergonomically, it's a little bit better, and the action and the build are just on a different level. So for that reason, the Thistle has to go away. So these are the last two, our Kershaw Westin and our Ganzo 7562. All right, and this one is very reminiscent of a Benchmade 940. I talked about it in my review for this knife. Just how this is basically a bigger version of the 940, and I really like it. And at this point, guys, we have a lot of similar qualities here, but real G10 on the Ganzo, this faux G10 that's still really functional on the Westin, a little bit better blade steel on 440C than 8CR13 MOV. We do have one side, I think, of the washers here is bronze, and then the other side is Teflon. Bronze on this one, but just really good action on this axis lock from the Ganzo. Just really good. Smooth, closes really well. I don't have the room here to flick it down, but while it doesn't free drop, it does close really nicely. Just overall, a really good build. You can see the milling, just a ton of quality. You know, and that's one thing that when you're looking at budget knives, you really want to pay attention to is how many extra steps did we take here? How many extra steps were taken in the manufacturing of this knife? $18, I think. God, $18 to $20, something like that for this knife. And look at the milling that you get. You know, look at the G10 and look at the inserts. These are actually glow in the dark. Someone made that point to me after the review. So these glow in the dark, which is sort of cool. And they do glow pretty well. You know, extra step there, inserting those. Extra step anodizing the hardware. You know, there's all these extra steps that are taken that you get in an $18 package. And I think value for this knife, God, it's so hard to say that any knife is better value than the Ganzo. It's hard to say. But at the end of the day, this is going to come down to my preference and my favorite of all these knives, right? And while anyone is more than welcome to disagree, and I would love to start that conversation in the comments, my favorite knife out of all the 5 that were on the table, and between the 2 of these right here, is the Kershaw Westin. All right, it's just the one that I prefer, the one that I like to carry. It finds its way into my pocket very regularly, and I think at the $25 price point, it's one of the best purchases I've ever made, as far as knives go, at least. So yeah, this one is officially the last knife slicing. This is the number 1 out of all my budget knives, in my opinion. All right, so that's it, guys. There you have it. So again, really looking forward to what you think and what your feedback is concerning all this. Let me know down below. Also, planning on using this format going forward for a ton of other videos. So hopefully it's something that you like or something that you're interested in. The gentleman's carry video that I've been talking about on and off and been trying to make for so long, I think I'm going to be able to use a format similar to this to talk about that style of knife. So really excited about that and what the future holds, and hopefully your feedback will help me tune this up and get a nice format that can go into the long-term future. So thanks for watching, take care, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Y'all have a good one.